In 2 years, DC has become a good student and has risen up couple belt ranks. His skills have improved and behavior has changed, though DC still pulls pranks. Though DC can have pride and stubbornness. Just turning 12 years age, he is reaching early teenage years where he is discovering himself. Has become friends with many of students, even ones who used to pick and bully him. DC has learned self-control and discipline, though pushes to boundaries as young teenager. Such as one time as he was standing in ranks waiting uniform inspection he thought could get away with not making sure was pristine and ironed. As TKD Master walked through ranks, he was inspecting DC uniform, found it out of place. TKD Master was disappointed, and look on Master face showed it like a knife. It cut DC to heart and pained him. He learned to respect the TKD Master like a father, never wanting to let him down. Of course, mistakes happened and DC faced consequences, had to do knuckle push-ups to reinforce about uniform care. DC's home life was improving with his parents, even though they traveled to many villages within Korea. DC dearly loved his parents and knew they did important work helping and educating people. He spent a lot of time with his parents. They tell him about their adventures, and in return they watch and listen to what he learned at the Taekwondo school. He would stay with TKD Master often when his parents were away, so he'd be able to still go to school as well continue training. He loved when he got to stay with his TKD teacher. It tended to end up with more practice time than the usual student. DC loved and cared about the master like father and always tried to stay out of trouble, though being DC and little rebellious at times he find himself in trouble. One time he was staying with Master and like any kid wasn't paying much to time, arrived late, so he would be in trouble. He would receive punishment from Master or Master's oldest daughter, who was young adult. TKD Master had 3 daughters, ranging from oldest being young adult to youngest that was about 4 years older than DC. They all loved DC like little brother, took care of him when he stayed with them. The day DC came home late, TKD Master and daughters were all worried and wondered to him. When he arrived, he could see the worried looks and knew he was wrong and be in trouble. TKD Master was very upset as he cared for DC, asked DC, "Why were you late?" DC, with head bowed, could only mutter, "I'm sorry sir, I was playing and forgot about the time." They all hugged him, thanking he was safe and sound. The TKD Master asked eldest daughter to see to DC's punishment. She bows to her father and orders DC to follow her. Following eldest daughter, she and DC arrived where his punishment take place. He was ordered to bend over bar, grab tight. The eldest carried out the punishment, which was caning of 20 stroke on bear. As the eldest daughter finished, she had DC stand up, gather himself together, and hugged him. After, DC returned to his room and cried himself asleep, not from exhaustion but partially of pain, and even more hurt people who cared about him. Now at the time DC's parents were away, it had been several weeks. DC turned 12, had been studying Taekwondo for 2 years, staying with Master and his family on and off. During this last trip, DC was practicing hard, both in school and his TKD training. Not knowing that a tragic death has happened to his parents, both becoming sick and passing away. In these days too, it took days to receive messages from village to village, and runners were usually sent to deliver the messages. On this day, messenger came to TKD trying facility and spoke with Master as he looked towards DC. DC, catching look on TKD Master, saw a distraught look as he finished. He called class together and dismissed them. As the Master took DC inside, he called his 3 daughters in and knelt by DC and explained about his parents. DC fell to his knees in shock, not wanting to believe it as the Master continued the story. Then DC broke down in tears. The daughters in shock surrounded DC and hugged him tightly, comforting him. In the days that followed, DC ran away to his old home where he and his parents had lived. Kneeling, DC started to cry and wondering what will happen. No relatives left and not sure if he'll have home or where he go. The future seemed bleak. DC just stared into the stars, crying and emotionally drained, waiting to see what future holds.